Chafing Armor Podcast, episode 138, Fanged Smile. Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast. I'm your host and irascible Dungeon Master, Michael Corley, and with me tonight is Lee. Lee, tell everyone who you will be playing.
G'day everybody, my name is Lee and I am playing Distant Bells, who has come face to face with a myth from his past.
Yes, he has. And also with us is James. James, tell us who you will be playing.
Hi everybody, I'm James. I'm playing Penton Chalice, a spell scale sorcerer who just popped a undead pinata.
Very, very true. Speaking of that pinata, the characters had journeyed into a strange and almost unworldly necropolis in Kalimvor, huge and mysterious, constantly changing. They went to sleep in a small hut, only to be awakened by a zombified Reja, the lizard folk monk who helped the party back when they were in the Pinsa Plains. They were able to defeat it by a combination of good tactics of acid, as well as a final bite that sent the rotting corpse to the ground, which its chest popped out a silver arm, something which young Distant Bells had heard about in his childhood. You look down and you see this silver arm just laying there. It looks very solid, very real. Would anyone like to do anything?
Yeah, I'm right there. I'll walk up and I'll keep my aura, which I believe I had on at the time, because it was sizzling the undead. I'll keep it on just in case it decides to get back up again, because you never know. And I'll walk over to the arm and I'll poke at it with my staff first before I actually physically touch it. Kind of knock off the goo.
There is a little bit of goo on it. It's pretty smooth. It's sculpted, and it has like it's like as if it looks like a sculpture. But you do notice when you poke it that it is actually articulated. Okay. It kind of just like a prosthetic. It moves slightly under your touch, your stick's touch, but it does not then pop up and try and punch you.
Right. Okay. I will pick up said arm.
Okay. It attack. No, I'm just kidding.
By the wrist. By the wrist. And I don't want
Okay.
to.
It first of all, it is heavy. You just you're not necessarily like a expert in metallurgy, but you suspect it's maybe not solid silver, that there's some other things going on here. Okay. It is definitely silver, though, but whether it's just plated silver or partially or an alloy, you don't know. But it's not like just a solid hunk of silver, because that would be a lot heavier.
Yeah. I'll flick on my detect magic eyes and see what happens there.
It is absolutely magical. But you do not sense it is not necrotic. That is so often when you have done
right
those you that seems to be the first thing. It does have enhancement. It does have conjuration. It does have alteration. This is a powerful working of magic.
Yeah. Would I have heard any kind of legends about something like this?
Well, you have heard the story of the Silver Arm. It is not... I don't even need to make you rule. It is a very famous story. Even more so, you've heard various versions of it. There is an entire school of spooky stories that are basically... You steal something from the dead, and the dead comes back and gets you.
Right.
That is like a whole thing.
Right. Is there anything like historically like not spooky around like the concept of a silver arm? Maybe.
The truth. Well, first of all, I shouldn't say that. Go ahead and give me just a general Arcana roll to test your magical knowledge.
Okay. 11. So that is a 25.
Okay. So with a 25, what I am telling you, the player, is there isn't any. There are stories of a silver arm and a blacksmith and all that sort of thing, but there are no stories of like, a great warrior who had a silver arm, or that kind of thing.
Right, or a mysterious other world where they forge dragon spears,
Exactly. Where he forged Zeus's lightning bolts with it, or something like that.
Okay, so nothing.
There is nothing.
Okay. Or at least it's so deep down in history that I've never.
Right,
had a chance
it
to
would
hear
be
about it.
super,
Okay.
super. Again, this world is incredibly old. You have literally met a fragment of a wizard who lived 10,000 years ago.
Right. All right. So I will. I'll turn to Bells and kind of show him the arm, kind of dangle it a little bit, ding a ding a ding a ding. I noticed you had some kind of a start there when the thing popped out. I mean, other than the thing popping out of an undead creature, but it seemed like there was some sort of recognition there.
Bells kind of inclines his head and sort of. He's torn because on the one hand, this story is in his head, and he woke up with a start after having a dream about it, and the circumstances around it are not pleasant. But also, there's a giant thing made of silver sitting, dangling in front of him, and he is in fact a bird. It is a shiny thing, and it also appears most likely to be worth something. It's been a long time, but he is a Kenku and he still has the ability to do it. The fragments of the story from the Great Baji or whatever the heck the storytelling bard's name was, from way back in his childhood, kind of that same voice kind of comes out with the scary story and the story of the silver arm and all that kind of thing. So it's weird to see that this exists almost, and that I was dreaming about it not 6 minutes ago.
I'll tell you, it's definitely magical. There's a lot going on in this thing. I could sit down and try and figure out exactly what it does if we want to take some time to do that.
Can I? Bells is just like he nods. He's like, you do what you want.
Okay. How long does it take for you to do that, Pinton?
Well, let's see. I know I have an identify. I usually have an identify loaded up. Let me double check. I think it's just a round to cast, but let me make sure. There it is. Casting time 1 hour. So that would take a bit of a time.
Yeah. But you can do it. It's
not like we've got anywhere else to be.
Let's exactly. Let's find a more comfortable place to do this, so we're not out in the open and something coming in to attack us while we're in the middle of a spell. That would be a bummer. So maybe just go back inside, assuming that the acid is dissipated at this point.
Bells kind of looks around and looks for a militia hut or something with a little more protection with this village. He's never been here before. He doesn't know what that is, or if there is one, but maybe something made of stone this time instead of wood.
A sniper nest or something.
Well, if you get closer to the edge of the village, there are some more defensive structures that you could tell like a guard would keep watch in.
Bells kind of points one of those out and sort of includes, maybe that's a little safer than the wooden hut we were just in.
I agree, sir. Let's go hunker down and figure out what this thing does.
We'll head over to more defensible position. Hopefully it has an iron door and some grates on the windows.
Maybe not,
or at least some
quite
okays.
that. Yeah, this is a very simple village, but it is defensible. It is made of stone, and it does have like slits in the window so that you can fire out without people be able to, kind of like murder holes. And it does have like thick wooden things you can cover the windows with.
Anything's better than where we were, and
Yeah.
Acid tends to stick around even after the whole thing's gone away.
True.
So I'm not
Okay,
happy
so while he's battening down hatches, I'll go into the center of the room and lay the arm down and start casting.
Okay. While he's doing that, Distant Bells, what are you going to do?
I'll make sure that the windows are covered. Since an arm just got thrust through a window, it might be an idea to make sure that the wooden covers are over this window, and I'll make sure the door is reasonably barricaded, but not barricaded enough that it would take too much time to open and get out.
Okay, like if the arm starts attacking you.
Yes.
Just saying.
It won't take long for me to open the door so he can leave, basically. I'm not going to throw all the deadbolts like the New York City apartment kind of thing.
Yeah.
By the way,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just say, again, as always, you do live in a D&D universe, and so I don't, it's not weird that your characters expect D&D things to happen.
True. My question was, I'm assuming that once I start casting, my dragon form will go away. Is that a problem? Or is that an issue? Or does it go away on its own without difficulty?
No. When your dragon form goes away, it is just like you summoning it.
Right.
It just vanishes.
I just meant in light of the way I was being affected by the.
Oh no,
the
you
creature.
you made your save.
Okay.
You rebalanced yourself.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any consequences, but okay.
I got you.
Yeah. So casting away.
All right. You sit down, cross-legged, crisscross applesauce with it laying, across your knees, and you begin to chant and cast. And Aphil actually helps you by, lending you her aura and presence. That's what familiars do. And Distant Bells, you're keeping watch as you begin to cast this spell. As it gets further and further in, you begin to get a sense of things that are beyond what you normally would. Because normally you would cast this spell and you'd be like, this is the, sword of lycanthropy slaying, that kind of thing.
Right.
But you start to get other things from this arm. You see in your mind half of the staff of Seraphim, the other half. And you actually see this arm grasp hold of it. The silver arm. And then there's like a boom of magic going throughout the land. You actually see, out of nowhere, you see the pit where the three witches' huts were. I'm sorry, the three hags' huts were.
Right, on the island of death or whatever it was called.
You can suddenly the island of the dead or the Isle of the Dead. I called it a bunch of different things. You can see those three huts, and this magic is associated with that area.
Huh.
And you actually can see a figure jumping down in the pit, and you can see a figure jumping out of the pit. And this is all just going through as you're chanting and just, repeating this mantra over and over again to gain. And then finally, as the spell reaches its climax, as you're finally getting to the final conjuration, you see two objects float up before you, like ghostly, but you physically see them. Like you don't think Distant Bells can. Maybe he can, you don't know. but you can see them, and they're just slowly spinning in front of you, and you recognize them both as those spikes.
Ah, the silver spikes. Yes.
That were driven through the two poor people's heads. One of them a male elf, and the other one, I believe, a half-elf, though don't quote me on that, because I never gave her a name. But you are certain that those two spikes are what this arm was made from. And
the same source of material.
Yes, literally, this arm, obviously, like I guess, as I said before, like it's not just made out of silver. But those two were used in this arm's construction.
Not vice versa. The spikes made the arm didn't make the spikes.
Right. Very well put. You, again, like, racking your brain for knowledge, that wasn't like a magic arm for doing blacksmithing or something like that you're aware of.
Okay.
So they were used in the construction.
Interesting.
But the interesting thing is, I told you before, you do not sense any necromancy in the spikes or in the arm. And you would think with the hags it was all about necromancy. But you don't sense any. And then the point of this spell is, what does this thing do? Like, what is it? And you haven't gotten to that as you're getting to the climax, because you didn't actually know that they were involved in the power of the island and where they were creating skeletons inside the pit, and it was horrible. But that doesn't tell you what the spikes did.
True.
And that's when both your hands come forward, and you actually lift up the arm. For some reason, it feels very, very light to you right now. And then you just gently touch the arm once. There's like a little boom, and you touch the arm, and the arm just freezes in the air, like as if it was carved out of stone there in the air.
Like no inertia, just floating there, just immobile.
Immobile. That is a perfect way to put it. It is completely immobile. And you...
It's like when the physics breaks in Skyrim.
Yes, very, very much so. Very much so. You, as a spellcaster, and knowing of such things in the world, you have heard of rods that will behave in a similar fashion.
So this is what, an arm of inertia?
There are rods that are immovable, and apparently those two silver spikes were made from immovable rods.
Okay.
And you don't know exactly how this arm works, but it has some, or perhaps even more, properties of immovable rods. And then you just lightly touch it again, and it falls to the ground.
Okay. So it doesn't have like a name or anything like that it's giving up to me.
Give me one more Arcana check.
Okay.
Let's see how you do on this one.
I guess that's normally what the spell does, but obviously if it's more powerful than...
Well, does it... when you say name...
I mean, when you do an identify spell, it actually gives you the attributes of the device. And,
right.
Like if it has it's basically the equivalent of handing over the stat sheet on the device.
Exactly. So this... Well, it's unique because it clearly does things... perhaps more, but the magic of this arm is rods of holding. I'm sorry, immovable rods.
Okay.
That this arm can be affixed to freeze anywhere, even if it disobeys the laws of physics.
Right. Okay.
It's called Johnny's arm.
Johnny's arm?
Johnny Silverarm. Johnny Silver. Never mind. It's a cyberpunk reference.
Ah.
There's a legendary character in Cyberpunk called Johnny Silverhand.
I did not know that. I'm learning all kinds of new things today.
Well, the people who have
Cyberpunk. Hey, Cyberpunk fans, you should really appreciate that reference. High five, Cyberpunk fans. Woo. I mean, I know they're out there. I'm just not one of them. That's all.
That is when you begin to hear the violin music.
What?
So, go ahead.
just Penton.
No, yeah, Benton hears it, but also you, Distant Bells. In the distance, you begin to hear violin music. So imagine music that you would play around Halloween, kind of like somewhere around Dance Macabre.
Yeah. Insert Ives Halloween.
Yes, exactly.
Look that up and you'll appreciate it.
Oh, okay. I shall. So that imagine that type of music, and this is not like ghostly. This is not like, slowly echoing in and out. This is very clearly violin music being played in the distance.
And on the wind, I'm David S. Pumpkins. Any questions?
The rest of this podcast
arm
will
do?
be
That's my
David S.
question.
Pumpkins related. Yes.
And that's the music that's playing. Dun, diddle-diddle-dun, diddle-diddle-dun.
Oh, dear.
I'm bringing it back. It's been, nearly 10 years now?
So that's all I'm gleaning from that, is that it basically functions as an immovable rod.
Yes, but also you think that there is magic that makes this arm function as an arm. And that's why
Right.
it's giving you sort of a non-specific sort of feel.
Right. Is this one of those kind of things where you have to cut your arm off to put it in place kind of jazz?
Yeah, you would probably want to lop off the arm if you wanted it to work like that.
Right. So I'm personally not very interested in doing that.
Bells,
Maybe Morezzi would like a silver arm.
Hey, maybe.
I'm actively pushing Christmas tunes out of my head right now.
Silver arm.
Oh.
You can throw your silver.
All right, so I'm gonna just kind of just throw the arm over my shoulder, and because I really don't, it's because it's kind of too heavy to put in any bag that I have. Maybe tuck it into my belt. I don't know. How do you carry an arm?
Well, the truth is, it's very awkward. I mean, you probably, Distant Bells, could get it into your backpack, like probably hanging out a little bit.
But it does articulate, so you can kind of bend it into a more compact shape, I guess.
Is it hollow?
It's not. Well, it
Maybe?
may be partially hollow. Yes,
Or at least it's not solid silver.
It is not solid silver because it would be like crazy heavy.
I'm just thinking, because if it's articulated, is there an opening at the end where it would fit over a stump?
Yes, there is an opening in the end, and it is very intricate. Like, it's very well made. Like, it's not just a nice sculpture. Like, there's like overlapping parts, and especially at the fingers with articulation and such.
Right.
Well, there's definitely an easy way to carry it. Then Bells puts the arm on.
Well, it won't fit over your hand.
I was going to say, does it have an elbow? How far up the arm does it go? Is it like?
Oh, it is a full arm. Yes, it does go all the way up to the shoulder.
Okay. But you'd need a stump.
You would need a stump. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could stick your fingers in the hole, but you couldn't just wear it like a glove.
I'm picturing Bells with like a 5-jointed arm that's like twice as long and just trying to grab at people.
Bummer. I was hoping to just put it on like a full arm glove kind
That
of
would
thing.
be cool. Like a really long gauntlet. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just hook it around. I'll just like carry it like arm in arm, as it were, right now.
I feel like you're going to need your
Hooked
arms
on.
free to cast any spells, so...
Well, I'll drop it and then I'll cast spells. It's fine.
Fair enough.
It's magical. It's not going to break.
We hope.
Most likely. So, are the violin noises getting closer, or are they just staying hauntingly off in the distance?
They're not getting closer, but you
Okay.
can hear them. There's a song being played, and you're now starting to hear like the voices of people, maybe. Like just like that indistinct kind of crowd noise.
Nomads?
What's that?
Nomads?
Possibly.
I don't see why they'd be angry.
That's awful.
But thank you. I turn to Bells and I say, you know what? I'm getting kind of tired of this wacky alternate universe stuff. I mean, could we just like kind of power through this and see what's over there?
Bells is like kind of already unlocking the door and sort of...
Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Well, he kind of starts
I am.
as... Yeah, he kind of starts as Penton's saying, and he's like, "Yep, let's just go figure out what's going on because, it's sounds like they're having fun at least."
That's true.
Do you know it kind of does? To be honest.
So yeah, he opens the door and kind of steps aside to... No, he goes out first. He goes out first to check that the coast is clear. Just out of habit more than anything else.
Okay.
And head toward the violin playing.
All right. Y'all begin walking towards the violin playing. As you walk, the landscape changes. You were in the Palm Grove, and as you walk, the plains area kind of changes into sort of a... there's a way that places outside of a city look, where it's just been developed and worked and, it maybe was farmland 100 years ago, so on, that it just has that look, whereas the Pinta Plains has a very wild look to it. And you're approaching a fairground. As you approach Pinton, this looks familiar to you.
Is it the circus?
Well, yes.
Circus?
Yes, it is. I didn't want to say yes and no, but like the circus came to perform at the fairground.
Okay.
Where that you were part of that circus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's the fairground that the thing that took place at. Okay.
Yes. So it
back in
literally
episode 12.
in your flashback, when you briefly joined Archibald's Flying Circus.
Literally.
Literally, yes. As you found out
Since he
later.
took off flying. Yeah.
And you encountered the king of Beltrain and his daughter. And just for the listeners, because I've made things, unnecessarily confusing, this is King Alam. He is the king of Beltrain, not King Tesrin, who is the king of Hyboria, who you met recently, Penton, when you journeyed to Masgate.
Right. He's the guy with the pet cat.
That's right. He's the guy with the pet cat who actually has cat's eyes. But this is King Alam, and he is there at the. If you think about when they do jousting, they have that raised platform,
Right.
that you climbed up to save the princess, and the king is there, and Princess Alvania is there, and she is much younger, which is when you first met her, and you
Right.
became the magician of the court, basically. She is there. There's only one small difference,
Oh dear.
and that is everyone is a vampire.
No.
Just wait
Everyone.
till Mum finds out.
Everyone is a vampire, and a traveling bard comes up to you, and he is also a vampire, and he goes, blah blah.
Really?
Yes.
So they're cartoon vampires.
I want to tell you a story.
Would you both give me a quick spot check?
Sure. Oof.
Okay.
My best quality.
Remember, Aphil is with you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me that. Because his spot is... Oh, 2, so 12.
12, okay. And Distant Bells?
23.
23.
Much better.
So especially you, Distant Bells, who's used to disguising yourself, especially when you needed to in Zental Keep. When this guy comes up and he, strums his lute and he goes, blah, blah. Those are wooden teeth. He's not a vampire. He's just dressed like a vampire.
I just know there's an actual vampire in here somewhere. It's probably going to be the ogre. It's going to be the ogre.
Look, nobody can resist a vampire ogre. And he says, welcome to the Strahd celebration.
Thanks.
Oh, boy, I don't like that name.
No.
Oh, boy, are we... Did you... You didn't... Are we in Ravenloft? Why are we in Ravenloft? Can we get out of Ravenloft? I don't want to be here.
Let's power through this. So this is like the same scene, basically, but everybody's pretending to be vampires?
Yep.
Okay. Including, like, the whole, like, we're about to, like, get the coins and get frozen. That whole scenario is happening? Or does it feel like it's leading up to that?
I take... You don't see Archibald's Flying Circus right now.
Okay.
Like, everything else, but you don't see Archibald's Flying Circus, and you see the royal family is up there, including the Queen, too. And... there's crowds, and there's partying, and there's, this is like a big fair day, and there's all kinds of things going on. But everyone is dressed like a vampire in one way or another.
Okay. I'm going to assume that since this is before everything went down, that she's not going to recognize me as her basically right-hand mage at this point, and kind of just move toward the edge of the platform in kind of like a wary scanning the crowd kind of way and waiting for something to try and do something bad.
Okay. Are you trying to not be noticed, or?
Not really. I'm just trying to be casual, blend in, do a little fake dancing, a la, a la Winter Soldier, show, and just kind of make my way over there, and just try not to stand out, but I mean, as much as he can't stand out, and just make my way over to a corner of the platform, and kind of defensively.
Distant Bells, what are you doing?
Watching Penton with befuddlement of what the hell he's doing. I have no idea what's going on. Penton's just suddenly gone all weird.
I kind of make a come here motion.
Bells kind of inclines his head and sort of just walks normally towards Penton.
Okay.
So this is like a flashback scene from when I first met the princess, and I saved her life from an attacking ogre and a killer circus group. And they're not. The circus group isn't here right now that I can see. Maybe they're coming up later, but something's obviously going big. There was no Halloween thing, so this isn't that part's new. There's because we don't sell it. I don't know. There was no vampires. Let's say. but I just know something bad's going to happen because that's the way these things have been going. So just stay sharp and wait for something to try and come and attack the platform.
Bells kind of inclines his head and I want to say sort of vanishes into the crowd.
Okay.
Keeping an eye on things.
Give me a hide check.
Okay.
I know you suck at those.
Oh yeah, it's my worst skill. Absolutely. I mean, at this point I have to roll a 1 to seriously fail. That's a 30.
You vanish into the crowd. Your dark colors helping you blend in with everyone is dressed as a cartoonish ideal of a vampire to varying levels of success.
Is there a source of where I can get some of these wooden teeth?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's a guy walking around. He's got a stick, and they're literally hanging off. They're like a copper piece each.
Bells just kind of, as the dude with the stick passes, just kind of, I want to filch one with one hand, while the other hand slipping a copper piece into the pouch or whatever. Just so I'm not stealing it, but he doesn't notice one's been taken. He'll just notice when
this is definitely a sleight of hand. So I want to see a sleight of hand.
Yeah, when he tallies up what's left and how much coins he's got. Yeah, it doesn't look out of place. Sleight of hand, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Where is that? There it is. 24.
24. So your left hand comes out and holds up one of them like you're looking at it. And that makes the guy look at your left hand. And as you do, your right hand comes and pulls one and slips it into one of your mini pockets. And then your left hand comes back down and gestures at him, and you ask him how much. And your right hand, as you're gesturing with your left hand, comes back and slips the coin into his pocket. It's a very deft move and a very nice little bit of not stealing. And now you have you may add wooden vampire teeth to your inventory.
Bells clumsily slips them into his beak.
Yep, that's what I was going to say is you absolutely can wear these, but they are not made for Kinku.
Oh no, they're not. Absolutely not. But he's going to slip them into his beak.
Mm-hmm. Izzy, when you hear this, please draw this.
I will ask Izzy if she can draw distant bells with vampire teeth. And I just want to say that the mood of the crowd and everything, it's creepy because it's just so weird. But like, it's not like everybody is secretly going like, hey. Like, it's just so normal. Like, that's actually the creepiest thing about it.
Everyone's just popping out in front of their friends going, bleh!
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what they're doing. And they're talking about Strahd and Ravenloft and all of that, but they're not acting like they're in it. It's like they're, like you said, like almost like this is a Halloween celebration.
Is this a Ravenloft convention?
Yeah, I mean, basically. Yeah, it's RavenCon. He did specifically call it a Strahd celebration, but yes.
Wow, yeah, that's okay. We're at StrahdCon or RavenCon, yeah.
And the king holds up, and he holds up a hand, and everyone quiets, to that soft murmur, and he goes, "And now, as we are all," and he's doing like a really bad, vampire accent. As we are all Strahds here tonight, it is time to feast. And he kind of does like a wink, and they come out with a, like the Ewoks carrying Han Solo type thing. And the legs are tied up on one end, and the arm is tied up on the other end. And it is Taka, the monk. And they look terrible. Like, they look haggard and exhausted, and there was always, no matter what, in the relatively short time you traveled with Taka Pinton, there was always like a twinkle in their eye, very mischievous type person. Like, this is a person who is like shell shocked, like gone through war. Just a haunted look in their eyes. They are brought forward. The king says, "And now, feast!" And everyone starts walking towards Taka.
When you described the tying up, you said legs were tied up and arm was tied up. Does that mean Taka only has one arm?
That is absolutely correct.
Time? Okay. Well, I think we've found the lock and the key.
Do you want Bells to do it?
You will have a better chance of getting there and making it happen than I will.
That's what I'm thinking.
Perhaps
the question, you can make a distraction of some kind?
Yes, that's my question, is Penton, will you do anything to create a distraction? Because literally everyone has turned their focus to Taka.
Because, I can get there relatively unseen, but when they get close enough, they're going to realize something's up.
Do I have any clue to where you are right this time, since you were disappearing into the crowd?
Having seen what's happened with the one arm, Bells will make a sound that isn't...
Okay.
It's not out of place to people who would be around, but it is definitely something you recognize as it's not
okay.
Of
you in
the
tossing
crowd.
Distance? Are you in tossing distance? Or sliding across the ground distance or something like that?
Yes, yeah. I would say I wouldn't have gone that far. I would be like 20 feet away.
So I will give it a good skid across the grassy ground toward him, and then I will put on my full glow, vampire killing radiant glow, which I imagine will be a distraction because it's night and, there's not a lot of light around here, I imagine, because you're trying to make it spooky. And just, give out a random, gawk, just because he doesn't really know what to do right now, other than make a noise and light up.
Just got this image of Penton lights ablaze, standing there with his hands by his side going, "Blah." I'm trying to fit in, but is it working? Hello? He's just glowing like a firework in the night. Blah, hello?
I am the vampire slayer with my glowing aura of undead killing. Ooh.
Okay, I want a performance check.
That was, well, at least I have that. But I was going for campy like everybody else is doing at least. So, where is my? It's under P for performance.
Yep.
Do we have is there a performance? Oh yeah, performance skills. There it is. Okay. Let's stay in the rolling area.
I believe it is a charisma
that's a good
roll.
number. Well, there's a perform skills section under charisma. 26.
So everyone turns towards you, and it's like, huh? Like, I don't remember this part of the story. You are very distracting. Tell me, Distant Bells, what are you going to do?
Bells, while this is happening, Bells kind of starts to low glide run towards Taka, scooping up the arm on the way through, and just kind of making his way low and relatively quickly to where Taka is kind of bound, and without saying anything, making any movements whatsoever, just slots the arm onto the stump of an arm that he's got, and then fades back out as quickly as he came. Whatever happens next, that's not his problem. He's done his job. He's out.
So I think sleight of hand actually is another really relative, because this is about agility. This is about very precise movements. So I'd like you to make a sleight of hand roll.
Okie dokie. Oh, you beautiful bastard dice. Yeah, that's a It's a 20, so sleight of hand plus... Where is it? Plus 5, 25.
Okay. So you slide forward, the hand comes out. There's a moment where Taka sees you, and the arm comes up, and you actually, and I don't want to make it, it's not like a magnet. That's not like that. But there is like a attraction when you get the arm close to Taka, and it's magic. It's magic calling to itself. And when the arm gets close to the right arm stump, there's a click as it clicks into place. And then things happen very quickly. So imagine Taka's hand suddenly planting down on the ground, and their body shooting up, straight up, including the stick that they're on. Suddenly, that hand, does a one-hand handstand, and then launches upwards. And all of Taka shoots 10 feet straight into the air, including the stick. Straight into the air, and then the hand, just the hand, clinches down and grabs hold of nothing. And the entire body then begins to swing as if the hand was holding on to a rod that wasn't there. And then as it swings forward, the other hand smashes into the metal hand, and the wood just splinters from behind. And then as the swing comes up, they duck and scooch in, and the rope that was taking the two legs just whoop, out from in between. And this has all happened in less than a single round. And then they complete the swing back up, and then the hand opens, and they spin backwards, literally doing like a martial arts spin. And then just before reaching the ground, the hand reaches up over their head and catches in the nowhere, and then releases, and Taka slowly, boom, lands on 2 feet before y'all. And Taka looks up at you, Penton, and says, "Penton, it is so good to see you." And that's where we'll end Chafing Armor, episode 138. Thanks for playing, everybody.
Phew. Thanks for doing that.
So we are
interesting.
We are going to be doing the entire Curse of Strahd now.
Oh no.
No, that will not be a concern.
It just ticks worries me. Paladins in Ravenloft don't do very well.
It's true. It's a problem. I know that Isabel actually had. That was I don't think her birthday. I can't remember. I got her the Curse of Strahd, and she started running the campaign with some friends. So
and now they all hate her.
They seem to be having a good time. Some of the I believe among the, you know how just like orcish jazz hands, there was a running joke among her friends that Strahd had erectile dysfunction. So,
Ouch.
that's just one of those things.
As if the poor man didn't have enough on his plate.
It's true. He's got a lot going on. He works in project management. It's hard for him.
I mean, he's got low blood pressure, so it's not surprising.
For certain. Don't even get me started on anemia. But thank you all both for playing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was very anime at the end there.
It was very anime, and it's only going to get more anime from there. So
we have been isekai'd.
No! But y'all have a good evening.
You too.
And until we see y'all later, we will roll with you soon.